Okay, all this is my attempt at doing kind of a fashion illustration tutorial. Hopefully you're able to see this okay. I obviously do not have professional YouTubing equipment, so I'm just making the best out of it. So please excuse any little imperfections, but hopefully this will help you kind of get started and be able to do your first fashion diary entry about designing a few garments from a designer that's due on Sunday. So to kind of start with looking at fashion illustration, there's kind of three things you really want to think of when you think of like your stroke or your line. So you have your actual like stroke, line, length, your line weight, and then the movement of it. And these all change depending on the medium you use. So we always kind of start off sketching with, I love a good old mechanical pencil. Kind of the next thing we'll kind of move to is whether you use some sort of colored medium, and then you always kind of outline with a black pen. I'll have some of these in the studio. Actually, all of these are in the studio, but if you have certain preferences to things, totally, get your preferences. So let's start with the stroke. Sorry that it's like, it doesn't know what to focus on, the poor little camera. So let's talk about stroke length. I'm sure a lot of you have maybe taken a figure drawing class, and if you're doing like a still life, you do a lot of like strokes like this, like, oh, okay, they're these little tiny, almost like hairy, brush strokes of things. You'll see that with like fine artists, doing your apple. I don't know, this is my idea of an apple. This is very different in fashion illustration. Many times you see a lot of illustrators using all one continual line. So you have the head, you do the shoulders. This is kind of mapping out, which I'll kind of talk about in a second. But, it's all kind of this one line. This is kind of mapping your drawing out, which we'll talk about in the next one. But, kind of keeping this continuous line, with the V-neck. So you want to do these like long, full strokes, not all these like hairy, I call them hairy lines. Okay, the next thing is line weight. So line weight is something that's really fun to play with depending on your medium. So like with pencil, you obviously you'll not take that much pressure, and you might do like this, see how there's variations between here and there, like, so different lightweight. There's then the more extreme where you do heavier weight. And you'll see in fashion illustration, your weight really does talk about, kind of tells us about different kind of movement, really, which kind of feeds into our next one. So there are places where you can, that maybe you don't see an area, or, when you do ruffles or, different movement, it kind of, the weight can really talk about movement. So I want you to start thinking of the line weight, and then finally your movement of whatever you're drawing. So, like, let's say if you are doing kind of like a skirt, you wouldn't just, if you took my digital design class, we did flat sketches. And so everything was kind of like very flat like this. Hems were straight across. Well, when you're doing more of an illustration, you want to be able, to have these different kind of movements. So, things on your body aren't necessarily even. I'm doing gross exaggerations here, but just go with me here. So not only would this not be straight across, you'd probably, have it curve a bit to show, this different movement. you know, you'll do the same thing, whether it's, I do a lot of movement when it comes to like creases of the body. You know, you'll have like little creases here and there. So just kind of thinking about how you're actually utilizing your media, whether it's a pencil, whether it's a pen, a marker, a colored pencil. You want to really think of these stroke lengths, the different line weights. So that's kind of the actual pressure you put down on the pen, pencil, marker, and then the movement. So, you know, giving, you know, allowing some, you know, movement in your media. So really kind of just basic things here. Wanted to just kind of give you some things to think about before we kind of move into the croquis.